Hello, everyone.
Oh,
Happy Juneteenth. My name is Henry Edwards II, the creator and founder of Two Magazine, always keeping you informed, inspired, and in style. Well, today we welcome to Two Magazine's podcast. Oh, say, can you see? I have a question. How many of you are familiar with timelines, or how many of you are familiar with vision boards? With vision boards and timelines, we set a date or a certain time within the year to have certain things accomplished. What do you do when those things are not achieved? When life, or some may say time, has interfered with your plan? Think about it. You're 14 years old. Either you're in middle school or you're about to enter high school. And you have all of these plans of what you're going to do once you enter high school. But those dreams were deferred or delayed because of time. The old hymn says time is filled with swift transition. What happens when you're wrongfully convicted of something? What if you're a senior in high school and you are about to be drafted by a major league baseball team? You have your plans of your for your future and what you're going to do. But what happens when you're wrongfully convicted? How do you regain that time? How do you handle the time that you're in and the detour that this particular situation has put you in? Well, today I have two exonerees. I have Mr. Jimmie Gardner as well as Mr. John Bunn. Mr. Gardner is a motivational speaker, and Mr. Bunn is the founder of A Voice for the Unheard. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you my panel. Let's start off by asking you to share your story, how this all started.
You can go first, John.
thank you for having me. Um, I would tell you, it's a pleasure for me being here tonight, and I just want to share a little bit about me. Um, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, in Crown Heights area, Brooklyn, New York, and I grew up like I would say in a poverty, in a part in poverty, like just to be raw with you. I grew up in poverty, so my community was really rough community, and I grew up around a time when the crack epidemic really had hit New York, and
Mm,
my family was suffering from being affected by the drug. Relatives had started using the drug, as well as the whole community had started becoming intoxicated with the whole crack era thing. And it was a lot of drugs in the community during this time back in 1990, 91. And there was a lot of killings and things going on around my area at the same time. Me growing up without having a father and just having my mother being a single mother, working a lot of time, I was left like vulnerable in a lot of areas of my life because I was left to fend for myself in a lot of areas, especially when my relatives had started, I'm getting caught up in a whole crack academic thing. Um, but when I was 14 years old, I was actually just going to middle school. I was just entering um, junior high school. I got left back in elementary school because anyone who knows my story knows I had problems with literacy. I couldn't read when I was younger. I had a lot of problems with literacy. So I went to junior high school actually a year late. And but I was real talented in basketball and gymnastics and things like that. So all the athletic coaches and things of that nature was like familiar with me and my community, even from the local precinct um, PAL league. I was playing basketball, gymnastics. I was very athletic. So my first year in junior high school, I was getting adjusted. I went into a year late, but I was getting adjusted. I was, starting to play basketball for the team that was there at this at and in the school at the time. And it was a real adjustment period because I did have a lot of problems with literacy at the time. So um my first year in junior high school, I was also playing for the PAL basketball team. I had got in trouble like a couple of times prior to that summer before school actually started. Like I had got arrested for being in a stolen vehicle, like joyriding it, like twice actually that summer. And so when I started school that year, it was like my mother was like really on me to do really good in school. Like so I had like the whole focus was on me because I got in trouble that summer. When school had intermission for that summer in 1991, um, I can't remember how the layout actually that summer went. But I used to travel like in a 4 block radius between my mother's house and my grandmother's house, and I used to ride my bike a lot in the community. Those that familiar with me in the community, like everyone knew me because I was like a community kid, like um, play a lot of basketball, play a lot of sports and things like that. Um, so one morning, um, just trying to bring it to shorten it up a little bit. One morning, while I was having breakfast with my mother, I get a loud bang on my door, and it was actually my basketball coach. I was playing for like the local precinct, which is called 77 Precinct. It was a PL league, and it was my basketball coach. And when my mother opened the door, he was like the first person I've seen. But right after that, it was like a whole gang of police had rushed into my home, and they drew weapons down on me, and they told me don't move and things like that. And they proceeded to take me into my room. I was already in boxer shorts and a tank top. I was under 100 pounds. I was maybe like 5'4", under 100 pounds. And they took me to my bedroom, search my room up and down, made me get dressed, told my mother that I was involved in a fight or robbery, that they was taking me down to the precinct for questioning, and that they just wanted to ask me some questions and things like that, and I should be let go and for her to meet me down at the precinct. As soon as they got me dressed, my little sister was actually like 3 years going on 4 years old at the time, and she started crying because like I was like I'm her big brother. I was really close to her, and she had started crying at the time, and she had like tried to grab me while they was getting me dressed, like hold on to my leg and things like that. And one of the officers that was there, like pushed my little sister back, and I went on to like try to defend her, like don't touch my sister, like me being a child, like I just wanted to protect my sister. And they proceeded to they proceeded at that point, they put me in handcuffs and they let me out of my mother's home. As soon as they got me out of my mother's jurisdiction, they started questioning me about a murder. They started telling me I was involved in a murder. They started asking me about 2 correctional officers that got shot maybe 2 nights before that they actually had picked me up, and they started running all these different questions on me. They were being physically aggressive with me. Um, you know, it's a lot of intimate details that I don't, just to keep it on the surface. They wound up getting me down to the precinct, which was actually 2 blocks away from where my mother lived, but it took them almost an hour to get me there. So they drove me all around different areas, and like threatening me for me to give them information or telling me I was involved in a crime that I had no knowledge of. Once they got me to the precinct, they had took me into a room and they handcuffed me to a pole, and they continued to question me and ask me questions about this particular crime that I had no information to give them at this time. Then they started to actually ask me questions about my co-defendant in this case, and they wanted me to give them information about him. They was asking me, did I ever seen him with a gun and things of that nature. I was only there because of him, and they had him already in custody, and he told them everything, and that if I didn't start coming clean, that they was gonna lock me up for the rest of my life. I was facing murder one because I was arrested for killing a correctional officer and his partner. So at some point during this questioning, while they had me in that room, they had let my mother come into that room. I don't know how many hours into the questioning it was, to be exact, maybe like 5 or 6 hours. Um, by the time my mother came into the room, I don't know what story they had gave her, but when she came into the room, they was telling her like, she was telling me like, whatever they want to know, just tell them, because that's the only way they're gonna let you come home. And I was telling like, mommy, they telling me like I was involved in a murder. I don't know what they telling me, but they asked me questions about a murder. So when she started asking like, huh, like when I told her that, and she started asking like, what murder you asking about? They kicked her out of the room. My mother started getting erratic in a precinct because she was asking like questions about like, what are they talking about, the effing murder and things like that, cussing and things, and they just removed her out of the room. Louis Scarcella came in to the interrogation room at some point, and he told me he wanted me to make a video statement. First, he offered me to basically write a statement, and he told me the only way for me to get out of this was for me to make a video statement. They told me that they already had my co-defendant in custody, had him in another room, and during this process, while they was taking me to this room to make this video statement, they escorted me through a hallway, and they had pushed my face up to a glass or something like that. And I seen that they had Roshan Hargrell in that room. They used to call him Cotty back then. So they were saying like, Cotty, we know you was with Cotty. He's a guy that was lived in the area as well. Actually lived right exactly around the corner from me. So then they took me into this room, and they proceeded to try to make me make a video statement. And they was asking me questions like, did I actually see a particular weapon? They were showing me different weapons. Did I ever see my co-defendant with a weapon and things of that nature? And when I went blank, I don't know how to say it. It's like everything in front of me just went blank. Like I knew it wasn't right for me to give them information that wasn't true. I wasn't going to lie on myself. Like one of the instances that you kick in when you go through anything is that I'm not going to, like, if you got any kind of will strong yourself, like you're not going to tell a lie on yourself. Like that's your first defense mechanism. Like I'm just not going to lie on myself. Cause that's what they actually was trying to get me to do, like lie on myself. And as a kid, like that's the only thing I knew. Like I'm not gonna lie on myself. I'm not gonna admit to something I didn't do. So that was my form of strength from the beginning. Like I'm not gonna admit to something I didn't do. When I went blank in front of the camera, he told me if I don't want to say nothing, that they were about to put me in a lineup anyway. And they took me to a lineup, and they put me in a lineup with grown men. Like these men outsized me even to this day. The perpetrator that they were looking for was, I think, 5'10", maybe 190 something pounds, 180 something pounds, light skin or something like that. To this day, I'm 5'5". I don't even weigh maybe 154 pounds at this time. Back then, I was maybe like 5'3", under 100 pounds. A skinny kid, literally. So they put me in the lineup with grown men, but I was so outside they had to sit us down. So they set us down, and they did the lineup that way. They switched me in a couple of different positions before they actually came in a couple of minutes later, and Scarcella told me it was my lucky day that I got picked, and told me to get ready for the cameras. And my life changed forever after that day. It was just I would say that was the day like my nightmare began, but it became a journey. And like I often say, I found my dream through living through my nightmare, because I feel like I could travel the world and, like the brother Jimmie, speak to a lot of youth and actually give meaning to my life and add purpose to my existence. I feel like to make sense of why all this has happened. So I look at it as like I never feel more fulfilled in my life for me able to do the duty, I feel like, of the universe. Like it came to me, my nature, my God. Like God put me through this test, and He's allowed me to do the universe work that probably a lot of people wouldn't be able to see it through a perspective if I couldn't tell it, you know. So, you know, that was the beginning of my nightmare, my journey. And I'm gonna pass it on to Jimmie and let Jimmie explain how his if you don't mind.
Yeah, thank you, bro. Yeah, thank you, John. Thank you so much. And I want to thank Henry Edwards, man, the second. Thank you for having me on the show tonight. And I want to say to all the viewers, John's story was so touching, and so many of us have experienced that. We have a number of exonerees, over 2,700 exonerees throughout the country and throughout the world to date. And thank you for sharing that testimony, John. And God bless you, brother. So I want to begin by saying a happy, special happy Juneteenth to all the brothers and sisters out there, and much respect to all our ancestors that paved the way for us to be in the positions that we are today and go through the journeys that we're going through today. And I want to say a special happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, including myself. And I want to wish you all a wonderful Father's Day weekend. But with that said, I'll do a short synopsis on my story and my experience with the criminal justice system. And I want to begin by saying my name is Jimmie C. Gardner, and I am from Tampa, Florida, by way of Dawson, Georgia. And I was raised in Hillsborough County. I went through Hillsborough County Public Schools, went off into Hillsborough High School, Tampa Bay Vocational Technical High School. I graduated high school in 1984, and I was blessed to be drafted by the Chicago Cubs at that time. And I was drafted by the Chicago Cubs baseball organization, and I played 4 seasons with the Chicago Cubs before my 4th season being my last season when I was in Charleston, West Virginia. And while there, I'm a pitcher. I was pitching on the night in question of one of the assaults that occurred. There were 2 separate assaults that occurred on 2 white women that happened. One while I was pitching, and another I don't know where I might have been, but I know I didn't do these crimes. But my thing was help the police in any way I could. So the police, they interviewed me, a number of guys on my baseball team. I believe about 4 or 5 other black guys on the baseball team, over 100 plus black men off the city of Charleston, West Virginia, off the streets. They took all of us downtown, fingerprint, photograph. I went through an interview process for about an hour and a half, and nothing matched. I was able to go home. That was in 1987. Approximately 2 years later, 2 years go by, and officers come from West Virginia to Tampa, Florida, and question me about those crimes in question. And at this time, they're telling me my fingerprint was on a vase from a crime scene, and they made a mistake back in 1987. And they asked me, how'd your fingerprint get on the vase? I said, well, if it's on there, you put it on there, because I didn't put it on there. I wasn't in nobody's home to put anything on there. So I said, I want a speedy trial. If you taking me to trial, you charge me, I want a speedy trial. So I ended up going to trial January of 1990. I was acquitted on one of the charges. I was actually indicted on 2 separate counts of robbery, sexual assault, burglary, and assault during the commission of a felony, 2 separate white women. And I was acquitted on one case, and I was found guilty on the other case. And the evidence in the case was both white women said that their attacker was a light-skinned African-American that stood about 6 foot tall. I am approximately 6'3", and I'm a black man. I'm a dark-skinned brother. And I got their testimonies, and their testimonies during lineups showed that they had stated Jimmie Gardner is not the guy. So I was even acquitted before I even went to trial from a realist standpoint. But here I was still on trial. I went through trial. My mother, my grandmother were there. My friend Sheila Renee Lewis. I had other friends there in support of me. The Chicago Cubs baseball organization, all testifying on my behalf. Evidence was supposed to have been blood work that matched from the victims or onto the victims. A guy by the name of Fred Zane testified falsely about blood work and serology work that he had prepared or allegedly prepared that included me in the attacks. And we found out later that that was a lie. But this was testimony presented at trial. And as I stated earlier, with this testimony and the fingerprint, I was convicted on one case and acquitted of the other case. You had that one fingerprint from one case saying it matched me, and another fingerprint, all fingerprints from the other case didn't match me. But they were saying the same guy did all the crimes. Anyhow, I went through that process, got convicted. And that was a rough time for me. Unlike John, I was 22 years old at the time. I believe 22. Yeah, I was 22 years old at the time. And, my career was going, and, I was a man, trying to move in the right direction. My daughter was out there, and, it was a lot going in my favor. But I was taken from my family and placed into West Virginia prison system with a 110-year sentence. And I'll never forget the before sentencing, when I got convicted, my mother screamed and my grandmother, they screamed. It was like they were wailing in the back of the courtroom. I still hear it today. And I know I got the strength from the ancestors, and I just yelled to the back of the courtroom, Mama, Grandma, don't let them see you cry. Don't let them see you cry. Stay strong. And I tell you, something powerful came over me, and I kept my head high, my shoulders erect, and I was, I was preparing because I knew I was in for a fight, and I give praise to God. But I got sentenced, I believe maybe a month later, and before sentencing, I'll never forget the judge asked me, Mr. Gardner, is there anything you like to say before sentencing? And I distinctly remember telling him, yeah, I got something I want to say. And I was in my emotions. Like I say, I was 22 years old in my emotions, but hey, it is what it is. I told the judge, F you, explicit F you, the prosecution, all of y'all in here. I told him, I said, you wearing the wrong hood. You wearing the wrong robe. You should have a white robe on with a white hood. I went off, man, crazily. And for all you individuals out there listening to me, don't do what I did. I teach emotional intelligence today. I didn't have emotional intelligence at 22 years old, regardless of the fact I was being charged and convicted of crimes that I didn't do. This I said before I got sentenced. I told the judge this, and I'll never forget him telling me, well, it gives me the pleasure to give you the maximum of all charges. He said, you are a menace to society. And this is before the movie. This is before the movie now. He said, you're a menace to society. And he gave me a 110-year sentence total. And I told him, I said, I'll be back. You haven't seen the last of me. I said, I'll be back. And I want to caution you young people out there to listen to me. Whenever you're in a situation, don't exacerbate it. Don't do anything to cause it to get worse. Because always remember this, it can always get worse. I was running my mouth, but I was in my emotions, not trying to justify, but I teach emotional intelligence today, and I want people to hear me tell this story because I acted out of emotions. I acted out of pain and anger and just hatred at that time because I had it for them. But I tell people today, what I did, don't do. So judge sentenced me. I went back over to the court, back over to the jail. And I tell you, it was like, as soon as I got back to the jail, somebody had broke into my locker and took all my stuff, took my family photos and my address book with my lady's phone number, my family phone number. They called my people. Oh, it was crazy. So this was, you got to imagine, this was on top of me getting the 110 years and all that. But I went into the West Virginia penitentiary, and as soon as I got in that system, I was fighting for my life. So I said, I got to immediately get into these law books, and I got to try to fight for my life and come out of this situation. So I went to work in the law library, and I want to give you guys a short just glimpse of how West Virginia penitentiary was when I went into that system. First off, the prison had been condemned since 1980, 86, somewhere around there, 88. They had a riot in 86, and the prison got condemned. It was a big dungeon. old prison. But and it was a racist place. It was probably about 98, 99% white in the institution. When I got into the prison, it might have been 75 black guys out of about 1,000 prisoners. And I'll never forget it. You know, you had the Aryan Brotherhood, Ku Klux Klan, the skinheads, you had DMI, you had a whole lot of different alphabets and different gangs, you know, motorcycle gang. I mean, all this craziness. And I'm coming from Tampa, Florida. And this was something that I was not, you know, used to. But I went into this system and I went in with the mindset, I'm coming out of here the same way I went in, but better, God willing. And I'm gonna defend my life to the hilt. So as soon as I went in, I got into a situation. I defended myself, and I got sentenced to 2 years in punitive segregation. And wow. But I got into a fight, and that fight was a pretty serious fight. And by the grace of God, I was able to come out on the other side, and wasn't no fatalities. Thank God. But I still got sentenced to 2 years in punitive segregation for defending myself. But I went into punitive segregation, man, and I started bidding. I got my health right. I got into a mindset where I'm fighting for my life. I got to get my mind right. I got to get my body right, my spirit. So I said I got to change up completely. They told me, they said you got high blood pressure. I said, man, if that's all I got, I ain't got nothing to worry about. I'm gonna work on this. So I changed my diet. I went on a diet. I stayed on for about 23 years. I changed my eating habits. I changed my thought process. You know, I did all my reading. My spiritual reading. I started studying. I mean, I went to another level, man. And I fought throughout those years. But in fighting throughout those years, I still had to understand that I needed to be recognized in that court system. You know, you can go through all the litigating and preparing petitions and writs, and that doesn't mean nothing if you don't get heard. I was not able to be heard in the West Virginia Penitentiary, in the West Virginia Division of Corrections for 23 years. I didn't receive a direct appeal. I didn't receive a habeas corpus in state court. I was not able to go back to that court that I talked to that judge that way. He didn't let me back in that court. I had 4 orders from the West Virginia Supreme Court saying, give him his full evidentiary hearing. I didn't get not one of them. And I say this to let people know it can always get worse. So always be conscious and think before you act or react. But by the grace of God, in 2012, I filed a federal petition. June 2012, I filed in the federal court. And I was heard November 2013, and I was accepted in the federal court under inordinate delay. And the judge brought me in and said, bring all your evidence and your arguments to the court. You know, bring every argument you have for saying there's a constitutional violation, bring it. And I did. And I asked for attorneys to be appointed. I had wonderful federal defenders. I had a investigator, private investigator, writing research specialist. I was blessed. I went through 46 months in federal court. And by the grace of God, on March 25th, 2016, the federal court Judge Joseph R. Goodwin from the United States Southern District of West Virginia overturned my case and vacated my sentences. And he said it was a total miscarriage of justice and that I had been held in legal purgatory for 23 years in state court without opportunity for review. And I omitted saying in 1993, state of West Virginia investigated that same forensic and that serology guy I was telling you about, Fred Zane. And they came back with the findings that he had testified falsely and committed, I guess they call it malfeasance, but that's criminal acts he committed in over 136 cases in the state of West Virginia. My case was one of them. All those cases were supposed to be reviewed and sent back. I never got that review. 1998, Fred Zane was indicted on my case for knowingly and intentionally providing false evidence in my case and committing perjury. That was 1998. And I want you all to hear this. I didn't get my first review until 2013. That's when I got accepted in the federal court. And I got my first answer in 2016. And the same evidence I had in 1993 was the same evidence that I had and provided that got me out in 2016. So I testify to this today because I'm blessed to be here. Out of those 136 cases that I mentioned to you guys, it was only 5 cases before me that got any type of relief in the state of West Virginia. And those 5 cases, the last guy was in 1998. His name was James Richardson. And my case came along in 2016. So there are still in prison languishing hundreds of men that haven't had opportunities for review in the state of West Virginia behind the false work of Fred Zane. But I come home today. My case, as soon as I got my release, April 1st, 2016, the state of West Virginia said, we're going to retry him on all charges with the same evidence. So it took me another 5 months of litigating before the state of West Virginia dropped all charges. They dismissed all charges on September 7th, 2016. That's after I brought in my DNA expert. This is what happened. I'm giving you all some meat right here. This was 2016. Finally, September 7th, I had all charges dismissed with prejudice. Since that day, I've been speaking from 2016, October 2016 to October 2017, I spoke and I had made a promise with God inside. You bring me home, I'll do my first year free, not charging anyone anything. I got $20 over here, $10 over here, $50. People might make a collection, give me $100. And I went from 16 to 17, from October 16, October to 17, with charging nothing. And I did wonderful. 2017, I started my business, J.C. Gardner Speaks. That's my LLC. And from 2017 to today, that's what I do. I do inspirational, motivational speaking. I speak to churches. I speak to different organizations, different types of corporations. I speak to prisons. I go to universities. I speak at schools. I speak at different functions, keynotes at different arenas. I'm blessed to be a speaker and share knowledge. And I also do emotional intelligence training. Myself and a retired police officer from the state of West Virginia, out of Charleston, West Virginia. He and we do emotional intelligence training together with another young lady. That's my assistant, Amanda Simmons. So I do that, and I do unconscious bias training, implicit training. I mean, I'm blessed to be able to speak. I go to public defender. I go to federal defender conferences. I speak to attorneys and different individuals at those conferences. I'm so blessed. And I've been home and doing all these wonderful things, attending different functions and just sharing testimony and giving back. And that's what it's about. I got married in 2018. It's a blessing. Currently I'm in college trying to finish up my final semester at Chapman University. It's a lot that's going on in my life, and I'm so blessed and so thankful to have the opportunity to share it with you, Henry, you, John, and the audience out there. And it's a blessing, and I thank y'all for letting me share it with you.
Man,
no problem. What a way to turn lemons into lemonade.
It's a lemonade, baby.
Now, Mr. Bunn, you also have a nonprofit organization where you donate books.
Well, I have a non-for-profit organization that I started, just like the brother here. Once I was fully exonerated, my life became like a tour. So I've been traveling like the 4 corners of the country and outside of the country doing speaking and things like that. I started my organization just because, unlike the brother, my journey was different inside the penitentiary, right? I went in as a naive kid to the system, thinking that just because I was innocent, the system was going to protect me, and all I needed to do was be innocent, and that it was going to work in my favor. I didn't go into this. I was an innocent. I was a kid versus him, like someone older who had a different perspective on the system. So I was going into it. When I got arrested, I was naive. I was just thinking that as long as I didn't do a crime, that this was going to play out all right. I heard about trial, but I couldn't read. You understand what I'm trying to say? So a lot of these paperwork and stuff that was being pushed across me, telling me this, that, and the other, I didn't understand that. I was illiterate.
Didn't understand it.
My mother, she had started to suffer with depression due to the fact that I had got arrested and they couldn't help me. Now, this is the first time I had been away from my family over 4 or 5 days. I never been away from my mother 4 or 5 days at a time. My mother didn't have any financial backing. None of my family had the financial backing for me to get an attorney. So we were basically going through the system through a different kind of way. We were thinking that I was under the impression that I was going to get a lawyer. The lawyer was going to represent me, and I was going to be able to prove my innocence because I was innocent. And that's the only thing I had to do was be innocent. But for my first day being in the juvenile system, I had a bullseye on my back because, like I told you, I was arrested for killing an off-duty correctional officer and his partner. So his friends are COs and the staff members and where I was being housed at. So for my first 6 months inside of being incarcerated, I was locked inside of a glass room for 24 hours observation under suicide watch, just so they did, because I was assaulted by a staff that was like 6'3", 200 and something pounds, that swore he was the best friend to the guy that I was accused of killing. So he was working where I was actually housed at, where I got sent to when I was locked and I was locked up at. This staff, his best friend was working there as one of the staff members. So he had he had found me in Spofford Detention Center, and he was able to assault me. After that, I was locked inside a glass room for like the next 6-7 months, going back and forth to court. Right. At some point, 16 months later, I was able to make it to that trial that I thought I was going to get my fair hearing in. Unlike the brother, my trial lasted only 1 day. It was a 1-day trial. Picked my jury within the matter of 30 hours, I would say. I had a picked jury and I had a verdict on my case. There was no evidence. There still is no evidence in my case. No evidence never existed. It was just a person that saying that I was there. It never mathematically, scientifically, or anything added up. They had a lot of physical evidence, everything from DNA to fingerprints. None of them match. You know, I had a lot of different issues where they say they couldn't locate the evidence in my case to actually do the DNA testing afterwards. But like I said, we waited 16 months to go to it to make it to trial, and our trial was actually 1 day. We got convicted, everything in 1 day. The judge ordered the jury that if they didn't make a decision by the end of that day, that they was going to be held in chambers throughout the Thanksgiving holiday. They came back maybe 45 minutes later with a guilty verdict. I was a 15-year-old kid at the time. My co-defendant was 17, maybe going on 18 at the time. And only thing I remember is like we was the last two kids in the Supreme Court building that day. And we were escorted back to our cells. And it was like everything had got dark around me. I don't remember me crying. I don't remember the state I was in. But I do remember my co-defendant taking off his belt and asking me, was we going to kill ourselves or were we going to fight? And I just told him I didn't want to die. And he proceeded to take his belt and flush it down the toilet. And he said we was going to fight. We were both illiterate young men at the time, suffering with literacy and things of that nature. So when I went through the system, my battle with the system was a little bit different. I started in the earlier stages due to the fact that I didn't know how to go in, I didn't know how to read. I didn't know how to go into the law library and start fighting for myself, defending for myself. It was a process I had to go through before I even learned how to read. When I did learn how to read, it did give me the incentive to start wanting to research and look at my cases, because I felt like I was on to something new, like just having the power of being able to read, and I could research and look up some of the things that I wasn't able to do before that was empowering to me. I went through a lot of different things during the time of my incarceration where I started to allow the time to become me. And what I mean by that is that I never subscribed to a gang. Anyone that ever knows me, I never been with any gang, anything like that. But I started to like smoke marijuana in the penitentiary. Like that was my way for me to deal with me coping with doing the time. So I started associating myself with individuals that smoke marijuana and things like that. So I became a negative person and starting to think in a negative mind state. Like, damn, The report got some weed in there. This is my drug of choice at the time. I need to get it. This is what's making me escape this reality or whatever the case may be. And I started getting caught up in the marijuana thing during along my course of my incarceration, along as getting into a lot of physical altercations because I was already had this bullseye on my back. So like the brother might know, like a lot of individuals always say, oh, ain't no snitching, all this, all that. But majority of individuals that's in the system that are like what you call like porters or certain kind of inmates that look at it like they got props. A lot of them actually do favors for the police to have these extra privileges, right? So you know, like I always had an issue wherever I went where it was guys that always felt like they had to do a officer of favor. So I always had an issue with individuals on some level, no matter where I went, until like later on in my incarceration with individuals like brother told you, I wasn't going. I would never been a sucker. I'm always going to stand up for myself. I'm never going to let nobody take advantage of me. But at the same time, like when you got a bullseye on your back, it's like you don't really know where the hate is coming from. So it's like every situation you really got to walk on eggshells because you don't know where your next situation is going to occur. You don't necessarily have to do anything to anyone, but people don't like you because of your circumstances. So I started to get caught up in that. At some point, like the brother, I started facilitating the anger management program, what I felt like actually saved my life. Because at the first, when I first got into the anger management program, I didn't believe in it. Then I started believing in it, and then I started facilitating it. And they had sentenced me to 20 to life in the beginning. So I was a 14-year-old kid with 20 to life, you know, and I didn't know how I was going to make it out of there. I actually started giving up on myself because I didn't feel like they had locked me away and threw away the key. They said there was no evidence for me to actually test the DNA against and things like that. So I was looking at it like I was going to do like 25 years. On my 17th year, while I was actually, you know, facilitating this anger management program, I was helping train a civilian staff that was just start working in the facility like 6 months. And another inmate that was serving 25 years on his third charge of rape tried to rape this staff, and I was able to come in and stop him from doing some real foul stuff and just being in the right place at the right time. And I stopped him from raping her. He actually crushed her windpipe, assaulted her, did a lot of other things, and he was but he wasn't able to physically penetrate her and do further damage than he already had done. Me and another convict who was locked at Elmira Correctional Facility was able to intervene. And this gave the parole you know what I'm saying, commissioner opportunity to see me as a human being. And they actually allowed me to be released on a special condition release on parole. And I was on parole. I got released from prison. I was still out here considered a murderer. I had to come on the outside and actually fight for my life and fight for my innocence from the outside, which is rare. From a lot of people will get out here and let's forget it. But I got out here and it took me another 10 years for me to get to where I was at. But like the brother in 2018, I was fully exonerated. And ever since then, I realized that a lot of people like myself, like he said, ain't gonna have these opportunities. So I feel like it's only right that I, you know, if I could share my platform due to the fact that I'm blessed to be in a position that I could help others or share my awareness or share my story with other people, and it could be empowering or impactful, that I feel like I actually have a purpose in life and I'm not living my life in void. So if I don't find a purpose to live on, it feel like my life doesn't make any sense. I didn't reach a level where I became a baseball player or I went to high school, I went to college. I didn't reach that level. You know what I'm saying? I went in as a young kid from the hood that didn't know how to read, that family didn't have nothing. You know what I'm saying? I ain't have shit. You know what I mean? So, you know, I had to, like, you know, I'm making a definition of John Bunn. This is the rebirth of John Bunn. I'm breaking a cycle for my family. You know, I'm the one who's creating a way for my family. I'm the model. I'm the one who's breaking through, you know. So I just feel like I just gotta stand strong, and you know, as long as I'm here, I feel like I'm here for a reason. If not, I'd have been dead a long time ago. Like I've been at SHU. I've been in the box where, you know, the police is coming in there. I'm butt naked. They coming in and beating me till I'm pissing blood for 3 or 4 days. I've been through all them type of things. So I feel like if I could survive all of that stuff, then I gotta be here for a reason, you know? And just like the brother, you know, doing stuff like I still do things for free. Like I don't reach the level of doing keynotes, commencements, everything. I do a lot of stuff for free because I feel like the people that really need me probably can't afford it. You know what I mean? To bring me. So I go to these schools and things that for free. I also do keynotes for payment. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of the stuff I do is charity because I feel like, you know, the kids in the hood where I'm from, like Brooklyn, a lot of other communities, they don't got nothing and they don't got no leadership. But if they can identify with individuals like me that really come from that life, that really is really just like them, and they can see that, and they can fulfill them with some type of hope, so they could put their hands on them and be like, man, I probably could get through this shit too. Like, and they don't gotta make bad decisions because I don't act like I'm no angel. I know I have made bad decisions in my past, but I'm just trying to make good on what I got left of this life now, you know?
So how did this impact, um, and I start with Jimmie, how did this impact your mental health? And do you still have triggers or certain things that could possibly trigger you since you have been exonerated?
Yeah, thank you for the question, brother. Most definitely, man. I experienced a lot. I experienced a lot of different trauma, as well as many men and women do that are incarcerated, and that never goes away. You know, seeing people killed, stabbing, you know, getting stabbed. I mean, the whole nine, man. I mean, it was a part of my life, and I was able to survive, and I've taken some therapy, still go through some therapy, but you know, as long as you can remember what happened, it's there, man. And you know, I still hear gunshots. I mean, they were shooting where I was at, man. I'm in lockup where I was at. They actually had officers with rifles that was shooting, and there's stabbings going on all the time. And you know, it was a lot of gangs against gangs. I mean, it was real, man. This Moundsville, West Virginia Penitentiary. The walls was real, and those officers had real live shotguns, man. And I still hear those boom in the background, and all this steel in all these cages. So that's trauma. But you know, I was blessed to be in the mindset to be strong. I think God will not place a burden upon us greater than we can handle. And whether or not we know what we're going through at that time is purposeful, we just got to be able to hang in there and withstand it. And I'm thankful to be able to walk out of that penitentiary the same way I walked in, as a man, head held high. And every individual known me throughout my time can say that brother held his. And I'm just thankful for that, because there's a lot of brothers that weren't able to make it home. There's a lot of brothers and sisters that unfortunately perished behind the walls, behind the fences. A lot of brothers and sisters, you know, are still going through major trauma even after coming home. So just because you came home, the trauma still exists. And you know, it's certain triggers, sure. It's certain things that trigger me. And I just, you know, I take it one day at a time. And I realize that you know, I gotta always tell myself to think of the good and not allow the negative to seep into my head, man, because it's there.
Now, with your past, when this was happening, did it create um, a feeling of distrust? And once you got out, did you have a hard time trusting people? Because I mean, this is a big lie. This is not like, oh, you took my shirt and that's it. Like, this is a huge lie that pretty much took a big chunk of your life away. So when you were exonerated, were you able to start trusting, or did you still have that sense of distrust, or do you still have the distrust?
I mean, I'm gonna just give it to you like it is, man. You know, I got sentenced to 110 years. I served 27 years, And I went through a lot. In the beginning, I had a lot of rage, a lot of hatred, a lot of anger. Anything came across my way, man, I was dealing with it. And I wasn't playing, man. And my mindset was kill or be killed. And I'm just giving it to you like it was, man. And I had to be on guard all day, every day. Any second, you never know what might happen. So I look at things as they are, man. I was able to go through an environment and make it home. Do I have trust issues? Sure. I mean, I don't trust everyone that comes smiling, but I also I'm able to discern. I'm able to make good decisions, good choices. You can come to me and say anything, but I got a lot of experience. And just because you're saying something don't mean I'm going with it. I might not even react to it. I might look at you like this. Don't mean I'm going with what you said, but I don't have to vocalize that either. Realness recognizes realness. Yeah. I'm gonna say that. So when something comes at me, and a lot of stuff has came at me. I've been home 5 years, but I look at it as opportunities for growth. I look at it as individuals trying something. Hey, it's what they do. People gonna be who people gonna be. How am I gonna react to it? That's the key. My reaction to it. I got a family. I'm trying to keep myself out of the penitentiary. I'm trying to keep myself away from harm's way. I got to be capable of leaving that ego off to the side, removing that ego, saying, look here, no doubt. I got to be capable of making good decisions and walking away and not allow ego or pride to put me in a bad position. And I work on that every day, man. That's every day. That ain't going nowhere.
Now, Mr. Bunn, do you find yourself constantly, every day, defending your name?
In what manner do you say defending my name?
People normally, of course, always bring up the past or what you used to do or what you have done or what happened to you, and that could kind of put labels on your name. Whether it's true or false, people, still mention that. And do you find yourself constantly having to defend yourself, meaning defend your name to prove to these people or show these individuals that you are not what they're saying?
The funny thing is, right? When I came home, I was getting that. Like when I first came home, when I was released on parole, I was feeling like that. Like that's how people would put me inside this box, right? Like I've been in New York Times over 10 times right now. I've been in almost every media outlet in America. Now it's a different take. Now people say, I knew you was innocent. I knew this. Like my community, people in my community really knew that I didn't have anything to do with the crime. Like they knew that. It was even people that was interviewed that came up to bat back then. But the officers, the police that was investigating this crime didn't even bring these people up, and I don't know, for whatever reason, from where I come from, it's like, people will call themselves minding their business in the community instead of getting involved with certain elements or things that they should get involved with when, like if a child is affected like myself, even though you could see me as a child, I was getting into trouble or whatever. I wasn't out here killing anyone and things of that nature. But people are somewhat mind their business because if it ain't them, nobody don't want to basically get involved. And people, and especially like with the wrongful convicted thing, like people don't show support until they affected by it, or someone in their family is affected by it to a certain degree, and then they can identify it, and then they reach out to you and want us to help them. But that's why I feel like what's going on in the last couple of years about bringing in awareness, and brothers like myself, Jimmie, the Exoneration File, my man Raymond Santana, useful us traveling, speaking, bringing awareness to this. A lot of people didn't even know about wrongful convictions, exonerations, and how many people, families, and things like that. So it's like we are basically making a lot of people identify with what's going on, because it's like that's why I call my organization the Voice for the Unheard, because it's like all all us was yelling. We was unheard for so long. Nobody wanted to hear our voices. We were swept under the rugs. You know, like what happened to me is unheard of. Like a 1 day trial on a murder case with a correctional officer and his partner. Like that's unheard of in the law books. You can search high and wide. For them to be able to sweep things like this under the rug shouldn't have been a reality for a lot of us. You know, like when you see individuals that actually are affected by these injustices, it's something that we can never put piece back our life together. A lot of people ask about, oh, was you compensated? Oh, you gonna get some money or things like that. None of that actually could ever fill in the space. No matter if you compensated, if you didn't. It's simple as like from a day-to-day basis. One of my biggest things is that's me dealing with my anxiety, not trusting nobody, you know, trying to help people, but then it's like a lot of people around us become with the entitlement thing. It's a lot of things for us trying to just make adjustment in the day-to-day life outside of us being looking like we heroic because we survived. We ain't have no choice but to survive. Like he said, it's either live or die. It's no other way around. If you ain't gonna kill yourself, it's live or die. You know what I'm saying? And if you a man, before you gonna let another man take your manhood or any pride you discard you any kind of your integrity as a man, you would rather die. So it just becomes live or die. That's how we live. It becomes live or die. You know what I'm saying? And you know, so it's like at this point, like the trauma never goes away. When I identify with certain things, you will see me cry or you'll see me get emotional. That's because a lot of times during my incarceration, most of the time you can't show emotion. There is no emotion. You become numb to it. You become numb to so much different things that you can't release that. So when I get a chance to speak about it now, when I'm in my purest state, the trauma is automatically going to surface because it's a part of me that's hurt forever. I can't get that back. That 14-year-old kid that been ripped away from his mother, his family, I'm never going to see I lost so many of my family members I'm never going to see again. Like the people that I know love me the most in the world. I don't got to question that. It ain't friends and nothing. I lost them. I couldn't even go pay my respect to my grandmother because they said I was a menace to society. They wouldn't let me go see my grandmother in her casket because they said I was a menace to society. I was a 15-year-old kid that didn't even know what the fuck I was locked up for. You understand what I'm saying? So a lot of them traumas, we can't get that time back. You know, we piece it together how we can to make it make sense. Because if we can't make it make sense, there ain't no reason for us to be here. You understand what I'm saying? That's the real. You know what I'm saying? So we do what we got to do to make it make sense for us. So our life can make sense. Because if it don't, we don't got nothing to hold on to.
And of course, I have of course several questions, but this could possibly be a part two. But I know I'm trying to keep it under a certain time, so I'm going to ask you this last question. So looking back at uh, what happened to you, or looking back at the past versus now, how would you complete this sentence? Life is, and we'll start with you, Jimmie.
Oh man, life is awesome for me. Life is great. I am I'm blessed to be home, and I look at things from a positive perspective, man. You know, I can sit back and think about the negatives and dwell in the past. I ain't got no room for that, man. I'm moving forward. I'm not letting nobody else have my life or run my life. Even when I was inside, you know, look, if it don't matter, you don't matter. Period. I'm moving in a direction straight ahead. I got my plans. I got my goals and objectives. I'm headed this way. If you rolling that way with me, if you on the same course, we can roll. If not, keep it to the left. You know, and I'm gonna stay in my lane. You stay in yours. So you be your way, to me be mine. I live like that, man. I'm blessed to be home. My mother home, my father, my sisters and brothers. You know, I got 5 brothers, 2 sisters. You know, I'm home. My daughter, man. Look, I'm blessed. I'm blessed, and I haven't been compensated by the state of West Virginia yet. You know, I'm still in litigation. 4 years later for litigation, I'm still in litigation.
Mm-hmm.
They can't never give me the years back, but I need to be made whole. I need to be made whole from the state of West Virginia. Accountability. But yeah, I'm moving forward, man. I mean, I'm blessed, man. I'm with my wife. I wake up with my wife every morning. Every day we spend together, man. I'm blessed, man. All praise due to God.
Amen. What about you, Mr. Bunn? Life is.
I feel like how can I say it? Right. I feel like I don't know. I complete that sentence, right? I feel like I got one shot at this shit, right? Right. I know it's one shot at this for me, right? So my thing is, you know, I always been one of them individuals since I was like little that feel like I'm on that level. You know what I mean? I don't, not to doubt anyone else, anything. I feel like every man should feel that way about themselves, right? So to me, I would say life is a journey, right? And I would say that because like I'm still on this journey, right? And I don't know where it's taking me yet, but I'm walking in this path that God allowed me to walk, right? And it makes sense to me, so I'm walking it, right? If it didn't make sense, I would be going in a different direction with it. But it makes sense to me, and every way I get to a point where I might feel like I'm stuck, God connects another dot to allow it to even make even more sense, right? So to me, life has been a journey, and I just want to make it an impactful one where it's a meaningful journey, right? Where my legacy could live longer than just to have wrongfully convicted. I want to leave something that, you know, other individuals, you know, could find strength in. I don't even know where it's going, to be honest with you. I just know I'm walking in this path, and I'm blessed. Like he said, I don't know if I'm blessed, I'm healing or whatever it is. And I'm saying I know I'm here. I don't know how you like how a lot of people say, you blessed, you blessed, you blessed. And they tell me that shit, and I be saying, damn, I'm really healing from a lot of shit. Like I really ain't right. I don't know if I'm blessed or not. And if I might be blessed to be alive. What is, you know, I don't like when you live through like us, I used to feel like that, like I'm blessed as to be in this position I'm in. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of times I just feel like I'm healing, to be totally honest with you. I'm really still healing. Like I'm still angry about certain things. Like, you know, I don't got children. I don't got a wife. It's a lot of things in my, like, it's kind of hard for me to piece certain shit together because things affect people different ways. You know what I'm saying? So I don't trust people. You know what I'm saying? So I got a problem with trusting. I got a problem with a lot of different things. So I'm trying to make the journey make sense, man, and make it make sense to me. Cause I ain't the perfect God. You know what I'm saying? So that's the fact that I could impact other individuals, you know what I mean, in a positive mind state, and I could push that positivity. That's what makes me feel alive. You know what I'm saying? That's what makes me feel like the journey is making sense to me, because it wasn't always that clear to me. You know what I'm saying? Like I got caught up in going another route, saying, F it, this shit ain't working. I'm gonna go at the system. If I can't beat the system, I'm gonna buck the system. So it's fuck the system. That's how I looked at it at one point. But like I said, I almost allowed them to come. I was almost allowed the system to make me the same predator that it wanted me to be, instead of the man that I am today. So I'm a work in progress. And I'm saying I'm still building upon myself. And I'm just glad to be able to be on this journey that is a purpose right now, to where people like yourself can reach out to me and want to hear my story, and where other people can learn from. So I'm just happy to be in a position where I can help others, man, and be an impact in a positive nature instead of one of a negative nature, you know. So that's why I'm at with it.
Yeah,
You
thank
know,
you for
I
sharing that,
will
bro.
agree. We all are, you know, a work in progress. Um, None of us are perfect, but at the same time, we are blessed and we have grace. And just for you to be able to sit here and talk to me as well as the viewers and to be able to share your story and to inspire and motivate others, that's a blessing. That's your gift. Yes, we all have internal things that we need to work on, but that's life. And we're going to continue to learn until we take our last breath. And that's life. Everybody's going to be a work in progress. But those imperfections that you're talking about, those imperfections, believe it or not, is what's attractive to people. And I look at it like fashion, or you look at models, and you hear from certain models how they were picked on maybe about their teeth, they had a gap, or if they were albino. Well, guess what? In the fashion industry, they're hot, and everyone is picking up the magazine. So don't ever look at your imperfection as if they are flawed, because what may look imperfect to you may be perfect to someone else. Um, and I did take away from this that forgiveness is definitely a big key. And I see that both of you are going through the forgiveness process in order to move forward and heal. Of course, it takes time, and as Mr. Garner has said before, one day at a time. I totally get it. But I will say I took away from this too, also forgiveness. I would like to thank you all so much for taking time out of your schedule to join me this evening. Um,
It's a pleasure.
it was it was very inspiring as well as touching. And again, I want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be with me on Juneteenth, where you could have been anywhere in the world having a blast, but you were here with me. And to the audience, I would like to say, as far as Juneteenth, yes, it is a time to celebrate, but we also need to celebrate our voices elsewhere. Please go out and encourage people to vote. We have midterm elections coming up next year. And believe it or not, we're already halfway through the year. So I encourage you to take your voices and go out and reach out to people and encourage them to register to vote. So we can still have a voice and we can still celebrate. Until next time. Oh, and as I close this, I have a special guest, songstress Carolyn Malachi is going to perform for us after this. Once again, thank you all so much for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jimmy. Thank you, Mr. John. Hopefully we all can stay in touch. I did have the information scrolling across the screen for those who are interested. I will also repost it on social media as well. Once again, thank you all so much for your time and consideration. Stay tuned for more. And as always, be exclusive. Never sacrifice individuality for conformity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Somewhere there's a nothing waiting to become something, fighting all the